But this one's got a little bit more of a 3D upgrade. So the character basically has the same movements as the old jump tower, but you're trying to make it up the ledges, and then you've got these spikes that are coming down below, and the character hits those, and then the character is defeated once it comes in contact with that. So we've got a couple different things going on here. There's a couple moving parts. So I'm going to break down this game, and I'm going to give you the download link to this game in the description of this video below. So keep an eye out for that and play around with this template. I hope you enjoy it, and let's go over how I made this game. Okay, so let me exit out of my preview here, and let me just kind of break this down. So the first thing that needs to happen is we need the character to start heading one direction. It doesn't really matter if it's left or right, but we need the character to start heading towards one of the walls so that when the character comes in contact with the other wall, then it starts going the other direction. So the way I solved this problem, and there's lots of options with this, you don't necessarily have to do it this way, but I hope that it gives you some idea. So I have this little thing called a starter block. And let me go ahead and turn on collision mode so that you can see the shape of the starter block, because right now I have it invisible, and I'll show you how to make things invisible here in just a second. So when the game starts off, the character is set to dynamic, so the character is definitely going to be affected by gravity. So the character goes falling down, it hits this little starter block, and then you'll see that the block disappears. But once the starter block happens, it starts heading in the direction to the right and starts heading towards this wall. And the way I set that up is I go over here into my actors node map, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find the one with my starter block. So here is the if collide node. So it starts off with if it collides with the affected asset starter block, then I want it to
Okay.
Dia nyari foto ya.
Oke.
Dijadikan
starts off with if it
Abi, yang
collides
gambar-gambarnya tuh gimana sih?
Yang mana?
Ini kan download tuh. Harus bikin sendiri kok.
Enggak lah.
Ya gimana?
Mana gambarnya di mana ada di dia? Itu ada.
Ya udah.
Ya itu buka sih. Oh itu baby doc. Kamu tinggal buka. Itu sudah jadi. Nah itu. Udah di project tuh, tinggal dilanjutin berarti dia. The game was created again. Oke. Kita mana langsung. Nah. Oh.
Tapi ngapain dong?
Ya nanti lanjutin modifikasinya.
Maksudnya?
Enggak dari awal
affected asset starter block, then I want it to move in the right direction. With a force of 6 in the X direction. These boxes are X, Y, and Z. So when you're moving around, that's the force. So the next thing that I wanted to do
kayak gini kayak ngapain dimodifikasi? Kan udah jadi.
Iya, ikutin aja videonya. Dari sudah ngapain nanti?
Ya iya, tapi kan udah 100% jalan.
Belum, coba. Belum jalan kan? Mana karakternya? Nggak ada kan? Nah, dia nyari scene-nya dari setupnya.
Oke.
I wanted to go and make sure that that starter block is invisible. So the way to do that is I'm going to just select my starter block real fast. And normally when you have a object, or you're starting off with a basic asset, it's going to have a 3D model, and it's going to have some sort of mesh or shape to it. But if you want to make an object transparent, it's really, really simple. You just select a 3D model and you just delete the node. And so then once you're messing with it in your scene, it's not going to be seen. But the collision shape will still be there. And you can see that here. I'm lifting the collision shape up, and you can see that the object is still there. So you're messing with it in your scene. Select the 3D to make 3D model. I'm going to just select my starter block. Go fast. And normally, when you have a object, or you're starting off with a basic asset, it's going to have a 3D model, and it's going to have some sort of mesh or shape to it. But if you want to make an object transparent, it's really, really simple. You just select a 3D model and you just delete the node. And so then once you're messing with it in your scene, it's not going to be seen, but the collision shape will still be there. And you can see that here. I'm lifting the collision shape up, and you can see that the object is still there, but it's invisible. And so there's all sorts of things you can do with that. I highly recommend messing around with the transparency of some objects. All right, so now that you have that starter block going, we also have this basic block down here at the bottom. That's the bottom platform. And I just have it set to static so that it's not moving anywhere, so gravity is not affected. Platform. We also have this basic block. All right, so now that you have that starter block going, we also have this basic block down here at the bottom. That's the bottom platform, and I just have it set to static so that it's not moving anywhere, so gravity is not affecting it, and so it's able to roll along the static ground. And then once it comes in contact with the left wall, I'm going to take it out of collision mode now. So this is the right wall actually, and then this one is the left wall. And so I have it set so that when you collide with the wall, and so now, so this is the right wall actually, and then this one is the left wall. And so I have it set so that when you collide with the left wall, then it's going to move 6. It's going to move in the right direction. Once you collide with the right wall, you move 6. It's going to move. In the right direction. Once you collide with the right wall, it's going to move -6. In the other direction. So I'll go ahead and play that again so you can see. So you can see I'll turn on the debug mode. Mode so you can see it happen. When I start this game up, look down here towards the bottom and you'll see the starter block hit the character, and then it's going to disappear. Okay, so I'll turn on debug mode and then we'll start it, and then boom. So as soon as it hits the starter block, it sets the motion going, and then it's removed. So I'll go ahead and I'll exit out of that, and you can see it's bouncing in between the two walls, and that's the if collide then move nodes. So I'll get out of debug mode, I'll turn off preview, and I want to show you one last thing. So we go into our 3D world, we go to our starter block, and the one thing I wanted to show you is if you collide with the actor, I have a little bit of a timer of a delay set up, 0.1 seconds, so it's really, really short, and then I remove the object. Okay. And that's what makes it disappear down here at the end. That's the remove node working. Okay, and so the next thing that we need to do is just add a jump node for our character, because now we've got, at this point, we've got the character moving left and right, and that's what we want. But let me show you how I added this little jump node as well. So I'll exit out of the preview. I'm going to go back to my 3D world, go to my actor node map, and you can see here that I have a jump limit. I have a certain type of jump node set up where I created a jump limit, and I actually coded this myself. I got a little bit of help from Radenko, our CTO here at BuildBox. But there's another video you can watch that I simply break down how you approach a problem like this where you want to create a jump limit for your jump node. And this is going to be usable by any of you. You can use this now. You don't have to code it yourself. But if you're running into something that where you want to code something and make something unique or add a special setting to a node, I show you how to attack that in this other video. So I also want to reset the jump when I collide with regular platforms. Anything that I put in the collision group platform is now going to reset the jump count. And so the way I have it set up is so that once you hit the walls, it's also resetting the jump count. Now that's totally up to you. You can change that, but I make it so that once you hit the wall, it gives you like a little platform to kind of jump off of. So it's almost like you're jumping from the wall. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like. So you jump at the moment you hit the wall, and it's kind of nice, and it creates a kind of a different game effect. You can see here that you can also hit the edge of those little platforms, and you can bounce off of those platforms, and I'll show you that as well. So that's the next thing. So we now have all these platforms that are set in the collision group platform, and let me show you here real fast. So wall over here is just an example. You go over here, you select your item or your object over here on the left. You go to the collision group, and you have all these different collision groups: enemies, platforms, coins, and you just want to set it to platform, and that's going to reset the jump. So now we've got the jump node working, we've got the motion left and right, and we're resetting the jump as well. So that's now, the other thing that we did here is we added a point system where we have coins for the points, and I actually haven't added a point label yet, so I'll go ahead and I'll show you how to do that right now. So this is a good example. So we've got our actor here, and then what I want to do is once I collide with a point, so I'll go over here to actions, I'll add if collide. I got a lot of if collide nodes, as you can see. So we'll hook this up. We'll hook this up to a coin. We'll change it to the affected asset as coin. Instead of doing the coin that's specifically labeled down here, this is the collision group coin that I was showing you just before. And then let's go ahead and add a point. So we'll grab another node, and we will add a point, and we'll add an amount of 1. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go back into my 3D world here. I'm going to go back to my mind map, and let's check out the world UI, and let's add in a quick label. So I'll go over here. I'll grab a default font label. I'll center it somewhere around here, not too high, not too low. I'll change the action type. I'm going to go back to my mind map, and let's check out the... Go back into my 3D world here. My mind map, and let's check out the world UI, and let's add in a quick label. So I'll go over here, I'll grab a default font label, I'll center it somewhere around here, not too high, not too low. I'll change the action type to score type. not too high, not too low. I'll change the action type to score type. I'll grab a default font label. I'll center it somewhere around here, not too high, not too low. I'll change the action type. To score type. World, I'll do current world. Score type will be points, current. Keep the alignment centered, and then we'll click stick to edge, and let's go ahead and hit save real fast since we're testing this out. And we should see that we're getting some points. But before we do that, let's make sure that the coin is actually in the collision group coin as well. So I'm going to click my coin, and you can see here that the collision group is none. So this was not going to work because we didn't set that correctly. So now I'm going to set this to coin. I bet you anything is going to work now. So I'll go ahead and jump.
Sabi ini karena versinya beda po.
Jadi gimana?
Ini kan pas dia play kayak gini. Kayak gini.
Kayaknya itu dia. Oh, ini loh, Maximus aja, Maximus. Nah,
Ada.
nggak jadi kan?
Oh, kelihatannya ke bawah.
Kalau jawabnya. Soalnya kalau taruh di atas gimana? Agak di atas sedikit. Supaya boleh kelihatan agak tengah lagi. Gitu. 2% doang. Keren banget deh. Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
I hit my coin, and then you can see the 2 is changing to a 3 there, and it's working perfectly. So that was really fast. We just added a point label there, and so I'll go ahead and I'll include that in the BB doc when we do this. So I'll go ahead and exit out of the preview now. So there's some little detail here that I just kind of want to show you beforehand. So this little platform is kind of a specially constructed platform. So let me go ahead and I'll put it in collision shape mode so that you can see what I'm talking about. So the part of the collision shape that I put for this platform, you see it up here at the top, it's real thin. I'll go ahead and I'll move it up here so you can see. See this little yellow layer here? It's not actually the full thickness of this platform, because the truth is I only want the jump resetting when you hit the top of the platform, or maybe the sides, but definitely not below. So I have this other invisible collision shape here that's static, that's hiding from underneath. So when the character jumps up and hits this collision shape, it's not resetting the jump. okay? Because then if you did that, if you reset the jump every single time it was hitting from the bottom, then you could just be hammering the jump button all the way across, jump, 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 and just keep hitting the top, 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 and then go over here, top, 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 and it's not really a game anymore. It's kind of like you're cracking it or, you know, beating the game. It's kind of like cheating. So the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make it so that when you're hitting the side of the platform, that it starts going the other direction. Because before when I was doing it and it was hitting this little collision shape, it was hitting it just fine. It was colliding with it just fine, and it was resetting the jump.
Yeah,
It was kind of slowing it down.
Oh, what?
yang di mana?
Ya, lupa. Oh. Oh.
Like it would hit the side and then it would kind of roll and then it would slowly roll towards the other wall. So what I did is I made it so that it's like when you hit the side, it just bounces back, and it kind of created a cool game effect where you can kind of jump from side to side. So it allowed me to create little scenes like this. Adding that other effect allowed me to create scenes like this where you're coming down from below and you actually have to hit it just on the side. You have to time your jumps correctly so you're hitting it on the side so that you're not hitting these spikes. Because if your character goes into one of these levels or one of these platforms where it's just covered in these little spike enemies, the character is not going to make it. You're going to lose the game. And so it takes a little bit of skill. It takes some really nice timing to be able to hit the sides of the platforms. Okay? Now, the other thing is we've got these enemies here, you know, because we can't have the character just keep going up and up and up forever collecting coins, and there's no way the character is defeated or else it's not. So I added some spike enemies, all right, and I added them to the collision group enemy so that when the actor collides with enemies, anything that is in the enemy collision group, it's going to defeat the character, it's going to do the explosion animation, and it has a little bit of a delay so that you can actually watch the animation. And then it sets off the game over event observer, and that sends it to your game over UI, and then this is where you can restart the game. So that's one of the enemies that I set up. Now the other thing that I did is I added this.
Abi, ini nggak usah kafe itu juga bisa loh. Ini kayaknya bukan.
Udah jadi.
Oh ya udah jadi.
Kalau gitu kalau jadi kamu mulai dari awal aja kayak Abi. Buat game balapan aja kayak Abi. Buat yang lain. Buildbox-nya home. Nah berarti dia nggak dari awal sih ya? Tutorial. Nah itu dari itu how to make. Ini berarti benar getting started. Oh iya berarti dari getting started. Udah dari. Oh benar.
Hey, what's up, Boxers? This is Zach with BuildBox. In this video series, I'm going to show you how to create a simple driving game with BuildBox 3.3.9. This is a simple driving game where you drag your mouse left and right, or you drag your finger left and right across the screen to steer the vehicle along the path. And then you collect these little points along the way. You try to stay on the path for as long as you can, and each time you collect a point, you slowly get faster and faster. So it's a really simple game. It's pretty fun, and you just try to stay on. And when you fall off, the vehicle splits into multiple pieces, and you have this really simple theme over UI. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this game, and I'm going to show you how to develop this from scratch. Okay, so I'll exit out of this. I'll go to my home screen, and then we're going to go up here at the top left corner, click Create New, and then click Create 3D. Game. Okay, and also just to make sure that we're all on the same page, I said that we are doing this with BuildBox 3.3.9. You want to go over here to BuildBox and go to About BuildBox and check this with BuildBox 3.3.9. You want to go over here to BuildBox and go to About BuildBox and check that you're using the same version. Hopefully you're using the same version. It might be a later version. Hopefully there's not too many differences, and if there are, it's all improvements. So let's go ahead. Let's start off by exiting. Let's go ahead and delete this cube. So you select the cube in your scene, and then you either hit delete or backspace on your keyboard. Okay, so BuildBox starts you off with a nice grassy field for your ground. Okay, so we're going to change that in a little bit, but first let's go over here to our asset library, and we've got shapes, smart assets, and assets. So right now let's go ahead and let's double click on the cube shape, and that will add the cube to our object menu here in our asset panel. And you can also click on the add to project button here, and that will also add it to our objects menu. This cube is going to serve as our defeat zone for our path. And then I do want to show you smart assets here for a little bit. These are assets that have nodes that are already built into these assets, and we will go over these in another tutorial later on. And then we have regular assets. We're going to grab a bunch of regular assets right now. So let's start off and grab the main vehicle. So I'll double click on the main vehicle, and then let's grab a couple buildings. So double click on brick building, factory building. Let's skip gas station. You can select hospital building and add to project, and that'll do it as well. I'm going to double click on small building, a luxury apartment, old apartment, cafe building, modern house. There's a bunch of great buildings here that you can choose from and add to your game. I recommend just going through and adding as many as you want. And I think, yeah, I think you'll want to add more decorations later on, but I think this is a good starting point. So now let's go ahead, let's add in one more asset. Let's add in tools. Okay. This is going to serve as our points for our game. So double click on that, and then we are good. So let's go ahead and let's exit out of the asset library. Okay, and then let's go ahead and drag our main vehicle up here to our characters menu. We'll go ahead and select our main vehicle, and we'll go over here to the top right in the options panel and change the collision group to character as well. And then let's drag our main vehicle out here into our scene. Okay, great. It looks really good. I think this is going to work for our game. We're not going to use the grass. So let's go ahead, let's select ground, and then we're going to go over here to ground type and select no ground. Okay, perfect. And so now we're going to create a path. So real fast, we want to add a scene or add a scene path to our game. So let's do that first. So let's go down here to the bottom of the outliner and where this little plus button is, and select this plus button and select scene path. Okay, now you can see this little faint line that was added here, and that means it added a path, and you can see it here in our outliner as well, and you can select it, but we need to add a texture to it. So I'm going to teach you how to look up a texture. So you want to open up a web browser, use any browser that you like, and search road texture looping. Okay, and then you just go to images. Okay, great. So I'm going to teach you how to avoid bad textures. So first off, you want a texture that is vertical, that goes like this, up and down. And then you want to avoid textures like this, where this one actually, it might work, but basically what you don't want is you don't want uneven gaps in between the lines. And sometimes if you have a short gap here and a short gap here and then big gaps in between, it just doesn't work. So one texture that I like, I think that works well, is this one. You can see it's a half gap here and then a half gap here, and it's going to make like a full gap right here. So let's go ahead and right click this one, save image as, save it to your desktop. I'm just going to call it road texture. I'll go ahead and include this in a download link in the description of this video as well for you, so you don't have to look this up, but I just want to show you how. now. Okay, cool. So I'll exit out of this, and then I will drop that road texture. Here into my path. So now we've got this really awesome looking path that we can use. Let's take a look at how the texture loops. So I'm going to grab the end of my scene here. I'm going to grab the blue arrow and I'm going to stretch it out, and you see how the gaps stay even and it looks pretty nice. That's kind of what we're looking for. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's also let's duplicate this scene and add some more path to our game. So I'm going to select the start scene down here at the bottom, and then I'm going to hit D to duplicate my scene. And then that will go ahead and make a copy of the scene. You can also select the little add button here, and this will add a blank scene. But I'm going to go ahead and delete this scene by selecting the scene and hitting the delete button or backspace button on my keyboard. And then I'm going to just press yes. The reason why I like duplicating scenes is because you duplicate a lot of the work, and so you save yourself a lot of the work. But you'll notice that each scene duplicated the character as well. So we want to go in and delete the second car because we don't want two cars. Selecting the scene and path to our game. So I'm going to select the start scene down here at the bottom, and then I'm going to hit D to duplicate my scene, and then that will go ahead scene. But I'm going to go ahead. Scenes is because you duplicate a lot of the work, and so you save yourself a lot of work. But you'll notice that each scene duplicated the character as well. So we want to go in and delete the second car because we don't want two cars. And then let's go ahead and rename this scene scene 1. Two cars. And then let's go ahead. We want to go in and delete the second car because we don't want two cars. And then let's go ahead and rename the scene 1. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and let's set up our vehicle so that it is driving down this road. So first off, let's give our car some physics. So I'm going to set the physics to dynamic. There's something that I want to point out here, and first let me explain. I guess that dynamic means that it is going to adhere to the laws of gravity. So that means it is going to fall just like it would in the normal world. But we have a problem here because the position factor is set to 0, so it's actually not going to fall. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this car up just a little bit, and then I'm going to press play, and you can see the car is floating in the air. But what we want is we want the car to be able to fall off the path. So we'll select the car again over here on the left, and we'll change the position factor to 1. Okay, and the position factor to 1, so that means it can fall. Okay, and that's great. It's falling down now, but it fell through the path. So let's fix that. So let's exit the preview, and actually let's change the position factor to 0.5 so that it falls a little bit slower. Then let's make it so it doesn't fall through the path. So we're going to select our scene path here in the outliner, go over here to physics, and turn physics on. So that means now in the outliner, go over here to physics and turn physics on. So that means now it can land on the path. And we got to do that for the first scene as well. So we'll go to the first scene, select our scene path, and then turn off. Turn on physics. Okay, and then boom, it lands right there on the path. All right, it's starting to look good. So let's go ahead and let's make a few adjustments to our world settings right now. So I'm going to have us go up to the world, 3D world real fast. And then I want us to change the gravity to -7. Okay, so we're actually going to crank gravity up. Next, let's go ahead and turn fog on. So this is pretty cool. You can go ahead and see that there's a little bit of fog now in the distance, but let's decrease the fog start distance to 2,000 instead of 3,500. Okay, so 3,500 means it's going to start 3,500 away from us. 2,000 means it's going to be a little bit closer to us, and you can see the fog is a little bit more prominent. And you can bring it in even closer. You can do something like 1,500 and really get the fog effect, and you'll be able to see that more and more when we add buildings. All right, let's exit out of here. Okay, next let's get this car moving. So let's double click on our main vehicle here, and then let's go ahead and let's add in some movement nodes here. So go over here to the left and hook up a move node. And so we went over here to movement, and let's hook up this move node here. To our created output. And then we're going to we're going to get rid of the Y constraint on the move node, because I want you to know that there's a difference between having 0 and having none when you're entering values into these boxes for the move node. So 0 means that it's not going to move at all. So I'll go ahead, I'll put in 0 real fast. Okay, and you see how it's barely falling. Okay, it doesn't actually, it's like gravity and this Y's constraint is like, they're like fighting each other. Okay, and I'll change the Z to 0 as well so you can see this. So it's not moving at all, but it's like it's just barely falling because gravity wants to work, but it's also fighting the 0. So what you want to do is you want to make it none, and then it's going to fall naturally. Boom. Okay, so that's actually a little bit more of what we want. So next, what we want to do is we want the car to drive away from us. So we're going to do it at a speed of -20. All right. And then we'll go ahead and press play, and you can see, boom, -20. All right. And then we'll go ahead and press play, and you can see, boom, the car car is flying down the road, but it's also bouncing a little bit too. So that's a problem. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to fix that. So I'm going to exit out of the preview. Let's go ahead. Let's go to our 3D world. Let's fix the bouncing part. And let's go over here to friction. Let's fix the bouncing part. And let's go over here to friction. And let's crank up friction to about 0.9. Okay. So it didn't have friction before, and so it just was bouncing like all over the place. And let's press play. Okay, cool. And it's all friction before, and so it just was bouncing like all over the place. And let's press play. Okay, cool. And it's already a lot smoother. But there's also another problem here. It's still bouncing. So we need to go ahead and fix that. And the way you fix that is by adjusting the collision shape. Okay, so the collision shape is right here, our starting collision shape. Let's go ahead and let's select our car and let's take a look at this collision shape. Okay, so the way you look at collision shapes is you turn on collision shape editor and you can see, okay, I've got this cube collision shape here. So what we want to do is this is rubbing all over the road. And so what we want to do is we want to make it so that this is actually just touching at a single point in the road, and it's smoothly moving across this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the collision shape to hull. Then we're going to select a sphere, change the collision shape to hull. Then we're going to select a sphere, and we're going to save that. And let me go ahead and shrink this down here so that you can see this. So this is the mesh manager, and we're going to select sphere and then click save. Okay, and then, all right, hey, this already looks pretty good. Gosh, oops, I'm gonna hit Command Z to undo. You can also hit Control Z to if you ever need to undo something. I'm gonna go ahead and plant this into the ground. And I want to see how how it's touching. Okay. Hey, that looks really good. That is actually perfect. That's exactly what we want. We got really lucky that the collision shape's already set up for us. So let's go ahead and let's get out of the collision shape mode, and that's going to work. And let's see what our preview looks like now. Ooh. It looks pretty smooth, doesn't it? Yeah, it is gliding across this road nice and easy. Okay, that's what we want to see, but we got a few problems. One is we need to be able to control the character and make the character swerve, and then also we need the camera to follow the character. And we're going to go over all of that in part 2 of this video series. We're going to end the video here.